back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast and for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, January 24th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, as always. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show by talking about Brock Purdy coming out and saying that Kyle Shanahan told him that the 49ers wanted Tom Brady to be their starting quarterback in 2023. And this actually was covered by one of our shows yesterday, so I thought, that would be something that I would like to talk about and give my opinion on it as well. Shout out to the Tate Cast for that. Then in the second part of the show, we'll do the power ranking. So I actually will rank the final remaining teams myself. I'm not going to use the NFL.com power rankings because that's basically what I've done since I started doing the show, because I just didn't feel like ranking the teams myself. But, now that it's narrow, I'll be honest, now that it's narrowed down to 4 teams, I figure, you know what, I'll do my own power rankings for Championship Sunday, how the 4 teams are ranked. So that'll be the second part of the show. Then in the third part of the show, a couple things. So we'll talk about Mahomes and Jackson matching up for the 5th time. So Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Part 5. That'll be the segment title for that. I'll go through the previous matchups and what we could be seeing on Sunday, because it's been a while. It's been a while since these two teams and these two quarterbacks last matched up against each other. And then in the final part of the show, I'll talk about the chances that the Lions have at upsetting the 49ers. So, it's already Wednesday, and, we're getting closer to Friday when, we'll actually, preview the games, but give you a little bit of a preview as we get closer to, again, Championship Sunday, which is coming up. So let's get right into the first topic, which is talking about the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan telling Brock Purdy, hey, maybe we should try to get Tom Brady. So basically, Brock Purdy came out and said that Kyle Shanahan told him that they were intending on trying to bring in Brady to be the quarterback this year. And there were rumblings about that. This was kind of known, before the year started. But it ended up not happening, of course. So Purdy said, and this is in an article, this is from clutchpoints.com. So this is what Purdy said. He said, I remember him, meaning Kyle Shanahan, saying, if we can get Tom Brady, we're going to try and get him. And Purdy said, and I was like, yeah, he's the GOAT. I get it. But something deep down inside me was sort of like, dude, I just showed you that I could play well in this system, and we were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. More than anything, I was like, okay, now let's go. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a mixed emotions for Purdy, because it's like, hey, we bring in Tom Brady, this could definitely help me out. But at the same time, it's like you'd have to take a back seat and, be the backup quarterback after you brought the team to the NFC Championship game last year against the Eagles. And Purdy, of course, got hurt in the game, and we all know what happened. And actually, Josh Johnson, he ended up getting hurt, so they literally had to have Christian McCaffrey, take direct snaps. And, well, actually then Purdy came into the game, but he couldn't really throw it. So, it was a disaster. But now the 49ers are back in this position again, and Purdy is one of the main reasons for that. Now, when it comes to the 49ers wanting Brady, I mean, listen, if they had the chance to get him and he wanted to come to the 49ers, then I think you absolutely do that. Because, again, as well as Purdy played last year, it was still an unknown. Was he going to be able to repeat what he did last year? I mean, you weren't sure about it, but, you look at the supporting cast and it's like kind of be hard for him not to, because of all the weapons that the 49ers have. But if you're able to go out and get Tom Brady, because the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, they're trying to get over that hump and win that Super Bowl. They came close a couple years ago against the Chiefs with Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback. And, if Jimmy Garoppolo hits that pass to Emmanuel Sanders, maybe we're having a different conversation. So, Tom Brady at his advanced age, would probably still be an upgrade over Brock Purdy. Because, listen, last year it was a rough year for Brady. But there was injuries and, the offense took a step back. And obviously, Bruce Arians, he stepped down as the head coach. So, it was a lot of different, and obviously Tom Brady dealing with some off the field stuff too with his family. There was a lot going on. But stepping into this situation now with what the 49ers have, and the Bucs have good weapons, of course, with Mike Evans and Godwin, but there was obviously Gronk retired. But now you would step into the 49ers situation with McCaffrey, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle with the great offensive line, Trent Williams as your left tackle. I mean, that's a better situation than what the Bucs were last year. Brady probably would have did good this year with the 49ers if he ended up, being their starting quarterback. But that ended up not being the case. He committed to retiring. He did make a little bit of a joke recently that he was thinking about coming back, and then his friends threw him a surprise retirement party, and that kind of, sealed the deal for him. So, I mean, yeah, he could have been joking, but there's also he did retire once before and then come back. I mean, probably could do it again. I mean, I think Brady still wants to play, but I think, listen, it's time for the next chapter in his life. So, but yeah, I mean, I still think Brady could have played. It's just it had to be the right situation. This would have been the right situation for him. But you know what? The 49ers didn't end up getting Brady, and it worked out. Purdy ended up having an MVP season, and they're back in the same place they were last year. And hopefully they get it done and they get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, listen, if the 49ers had a chance to get Brady, you go out and do it. And you let Purdy, and that definitely benefits Purdy because then you learned under Brady for a year, and then you come out the following year, and you're an even better quarterback. But, again, Purdy still ended up playing like an MVP candidate this year, so yeah, I mean, you kind of feel for Purdy, but at the end of the day, listen, it's a business, and if the 49ers have a chance to upgrade at quarterback, they were going to do it. And, Kyle Shanahan told Brock Purdy that's what they were thinking about doing. But I will say this, I mean, people are talking about Purdy being a system quarterback, and we've had that conversation earlier this year. And you could definitely make the case for that. I still think Brock Purdy is good. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but I do think he's a solid quarterback. I mean, the fact that he was Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's playing for the number one seed in the NFC, and they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, he got put in the perfect situation. I mean, if he went to any other team, and there's personalities on television saying if he went to the Jets would be, competing for the number one seed in the AFC. That's just not true at all. Brock Purdy got put in the right situation. And I think for me, he's operating this offense better than any quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had since he's been with the 49ers. Now, you could also make the argument, well, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. A lot of these guys, they got, after Shanahan started. Because, I mean, you got to remember, they had Brian Hoyer, they had Nick Mullins, C.J. Beathard. You bring in Garoppolo, you draft Trey Lance. I mean, Trey Lance never really got a shot because he was hurt. But for me, Brock Purdy right away, it seemed like he had a grip on the offense. And again, I think he's operating it better than any of the 49ers quarterbacks that they've had since Shanahan took over. And listen, Garoppolo was doing okay when they got McCaffrey, but then he got hurt. That's the other problem with Garoppolo is he's always getting hurt. Trey Lance got hurt. But again, Trey Lance didn't get a fair shot. But yeah, Brock Purdy, from the minute he stepped onto the field and he took over after Garoppolo got hurt last year, he's played well. Now, he's had some bad games, and now we'll see what happens in this NFC Championship game against the Lions. Listen, in the regular season, they had that 3-game losing streak against the Ravens. That wasn't good. So yeah, that's that's when the Brock Purdy criticisms come out, and rightfully so. But I don't know. I just feel like there's just so much negativity in general. I mean, we're you're jumping on all over Brock Purdy. Like, what did he do? I mean, he's just doing his job. I mean, it's a great story. It really is. That he was the last pick in the draft, and now he's playing for the 49ers. They're going to the NFC Championship game. I mean, he's gone to back-to-back NFC Championship games now. And we're just talking about, what he's not doing, what he isn't. Let's talk about what he is. He's a quarterback for the 49ers. He's playing well. I mean, listen, I don't look at him as a top-tier quarterback. He's not. I don't think so. But he played like an MVP this year. And, and now he's got a chance to bring the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And let's see if they get it done. Now, I picked them to win the Super Bowl, and I'll be honest, that was kind of more of a pick with my heart as opposed to my head because, I look over at the other side of the bracket, with the AFC and the two teams that are remaining there. Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be tough if the 49ers, of course, win on Sunday. Again, I don't want to make my pick yet because, well, obviously I just told you I have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, so that never mind. But they gotta get past the Lions first, and then you worry about the Super Bowl. But I think again, what he's been able to do since he stepped in after Garoppolo got hurt, it's amazing, And again, there's going to be haters all over the place. I mean, that's just it. But it's just the amount of negativity. It's just unbelievable. I mean, can we just appreciate it? Like, hey, this guy was the last pick in the draft, and now he's got a chance to lead the team, in his first full season as a starting quarterback to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's great. But again, you got to put things into perspective too. Again, I don't view him as a top-tier quarterback, but got to appreciate what he's been able to do. And you know what? Either way, I mean, it worked out for the 49ers, even if they didn't get Tom Brady. Their team is in the same spot they were in last year. Now they're trying to get it done. And we'll see if they get it done on Sunday. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about this topic. Did the 49ers, well, I shouldn't say they made the right decision. Because ultimately it would have been up to Brady. Brady had to decide, if he was going to come back or not. But just let me know what you guys think about this topic here. So when we come back from our first break of the show, we are then going to talk about the power rankings. So obviously we'll talk about the 49ers and the other teams as well that are remaining. I'm going to tell you, how I'm ranking them going into Championship Sunday. Now, one team is going to be fourth. So, don't get upset if, the team that you like is fourth. Because, it's the top 4 teams remaining. So, it's not like, I'm ranking every team in the NFL. But, whatever. So, that's what we will do when we come back from our first break of the show. So, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody...
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about the power rankings for this week. Well, I'm going to be doing my own power rankings. So with the breaks, so I know they were videos. Now, yesterday, I didn't have the volume up for you guys to hear the audio for it. So I only heard it on my end. So when I came back and I was like, oh, I was just waiting for like it to not, so I wasn't talking over it. You probably thought I was crazy because there was no audio playing, but I heard it on my end. So just a quick fix there. But anyways, so let's get into these my rankings here. Top 4 remaining teams left. So we're going to start with number 4. And I don't like doing this, but we are going to say the Detroit Lions are number 4. Again, it's the top 4 remaining teams. But for me, I think the other 3 teams are better. Now there's different reasons for that. I think the Lions have a solid team, especially on offense. I mean, the defense is kind of the weakness of the team. You know, obviously their pass defense is an issue, but when you look at, you know, how Jared Goff is playing, how he's played all year, you know, the running attack with both David Montgomery and rookie Jahmyr Gibbs, and of course with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end, the offensive line, which is one of the better offensive lines in the league. You also got the other receivers as well. I mean, you would like to see one of the other receivers, and they have made plays. Josh Reynolds has made plays. Jamison Williams at certain points during the year has made plays as well. So you want to see one of these guys, you know, continue to step up. But yeah, for me, I would put them at number 4 right now. But again, it's the top 4 remaining teams. You know, and going into this weekend, it's going to be a tough game against the 49ers, of course. You know, and I don't want to, you know, talk about, you know, the game, of course, because I want to save that for, of course, later in the week. And also, you know, talk about it later in the show. What, you know, the chances that the Lions can upset the 49ers. But, you know, this is not to, you know, discredit the Niners. Again, for me, I just think the other 3 teams remaining right now are better. Now, one of the teams, the Lions beat them to start the season, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. So, you know, you could throw that in my face. You know, I'll take it. But you know, I right now this is where I would put them at number 4. And I think mainly it's because of the pass defense is why I'd probably put them last. But listen, they're a solid team, and you know, it's amazing that they've gotten this far. Really, and it's a credit to Dan Campbell, credit to that coaching staff, credit to Jared Goff. Again, he played well all year. He had a couple of bad games, but again, most players have had that. Most quarterbacks had that this year. So, you know, and you know, we'll see what they end up doing on Sunday. So, then at number 3, I'm actually putting the 49ers at 3. Listen, I have the team winning the Super Bowl, but right now, I look at them as the 3rd team. I think they are, they're above the Lions. I mean, they're the 1 seed for a reason. The game against the Packers definitely, I have some concerns after the Packers game. And especially, the other thing too is Deebo Samuel, his status is up in the air, going into the game on Sunday. Now, there were reports that it was like a 50-50 chance that he was going to play, but now there's reports that it's more than just, well, I saw someone say it's more than just a 50-50 shot. So, I mean, I think Deebo's going to do everything he can to play in this game. And we saw the 49ers struggle when they had that 3-game losing streak, when they had no Deebo Samuel, they had no Trent Williams. It was a problem. Brock Purdy was turning the ball over. And, I mean, that was the rough stretch of the 49ers season. But the reason why, for the Niners, though, I just look, the other two teams, there's a couple things. Again, it's the quarterbacks and also, one of the Ravens, I mean, what they were able to do to the 49ers on Christmas, that didn't go unnoticed. That factored in. I mean, it had to. It has to. The Ravens did a great job, in that game. And, I look at the quarterbacks, especially, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's, again, Brock Purdy's not in that elite class. Those are the quarterbacks that are in the elite class. But Brock Purdy's got a great supporting cast around him. He's got a great defense. But for me, I would put them at 3 right now. Because again, it has to do with past matchups from earlier in the season, and also just the quarterbacks. So I would put again the Niners at 3 right now going into Championship Sunday. So, and then at number 2, I'm going to put the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the reason for that is just, listen, all year the Chiefs have just not looked the same. They've struggled. The receivers have struggled. Patrick Mahomes at certain points during the year hasn't played well, but you could also, again, it's because the receivers dropped some passes. I mean, if they, Valdez-Scantling and Kadarius Toney could have held on to the ball, they probably would have had 2 more wins at least. But listen, they've turned it on. They look like the Chiefs. Not, like we've seen in, like when they came back against the Texans and the Titans when Mahomes won his first Super Bowl. But they're getting it done when they're supposed to. And you could say, well, they went up against 2 defenses that were ravaged by injuries. I mean, I get it. But listen, they're turning it on. They look like a different team than they were in the regular season at certain points. And, I mean, to go on the road against Buffalo, I know Buffalo is missing a ton of starters, but again, that's it's a tough environment to play in. And, it's Mahomes' first road playoff game. But, I wasn't worried that he wasn't going to play well. He did. And, they got the win, and Isaiah Pacheco continues to run the football well. The defense in the first half didn't play that good, but then they kind of turned it up in the second half. They got stops when they needed to. And, now they're in the championship game once again. And, again, why I wouldn't rank the 49ers, even though I would look at the 49ers as a better team, overall, in terms of the roster, it's because of Patrick Mahomes. It's because of Andy Reid as well, These guys get it done. And, it's not a lot of – there's only 2 people. There's only 2 players that have been able to stop Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. One of them is Joe Burrow, who obviously got hurt this year. And, if he didn't, Bengals probably, I think, would have snuck in. And of course, Tom Brady. Tom Brady beat him in an AFC Championship game and beat him in the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen very often. And this is the first time Mahomes played in a road playoff game. It's because of him. I'm putting the Chiefs at 2. Now, I'm not putting them at 1. That is going to go to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were the best team in the AFC all year. Lamar Jackson played at an MVP level this year and could possibly win the MVP. Really up in the air as to who's going to win MVP. The defense has played really well this year. This was the best team in the AFC, and right now I think this is the best team remaining. Now, again, I have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, but again, that was a hard pick. That's not really with my head. Because what the Ravens were able to do against Brock Purdy and the 49ers, yeah, that's still in my mind, don't worry. But I just, I want the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. But again, all the teams that are remaining, I'm okay with them winning. I know, and I know people want the Chiefs out of it. I mean, I'm seeing all over social media. It's America. Lamar is like our last hope, because people don't want to see a Taylor Swift Super Bowl. I get it. Again, I get it. Yeah, I mean the Ravens. They've been the best team all year in the AFC. They're healthy. Again, there's some injuries. Mark Andrews getting hurt, J.K. Dobbins. Got to keep an eye on some of the guys on defense and their status, but in the secondary, because I know Marlon Humphrey is hurt. I don't know if he is playing in the game, but we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, the Ravens for the most part have been healthy all year. Lamar Jackson has been healthy all year, and that's been the issue for the Ravens the last couple of seasons. Is Lamar Jackson gets hurt, and then the Ravens kind of just fall out of the playoffs. Well, they made it last year, and they had to start Tyler Huntley. Actually, almost beat the Bengals with Tyler Huntley, but now Lamar Jackson's healthy, and he's the difference maker. And I know people criticize Lamar Jackson of him not being an elite passer. He's gotten better, of course, but he is one of the elite playmakers in this league. And when he plays, the Ravens win. So you could say whatever you want about Lamar still not being able to throw that good, but now you actually have good weapons. I mean, Zay Flowers, the rookie, he's been great. Isaiah Likely has stepped in and taken over for Mark Andrews, and he's had to in the past, and he's done a nice job as well. Odell Beckham Jr. has made plays this year, and Nelson Aguilar caught a touchdown last week. They actually surrounded Lamar Jackson with a decent supporting cast. And the running game, you bring in Dalvin Cook to go along with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. They're getting the job done. So, and he's got a good offensive line. A healthy Ravens team makes a difference. This is what this team can do when they're healthy. And they got a good coach in John Harbaugh. It's been a while since he's won a Super Bowl, but he's still a good coach. He's one of the better coaches in the league. But it's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs on Sunday. It really is. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to talk about it more in the next part of the show. But overall, I think the Ravens, they have the best team remaining in the postseason. Does that mean that they're going to win on Sunday? I don't know. But I put them at number 1. So for the top 4, so at 4 I got the Lions, 3 the 49ers, 2 the Chiefs, and then 1 I have the Baltimore Ravens. So let me know what you guys think about that. Again, different reasons for why they're in their spots, but again, it's the top 4 teams remaining. Like the fact that you're in the top 4, you're one of the top 4 teams remaining. That's really impressive. So. Yeah, that's the power rankings. Well, at least my power rankings for this week going into Championship Sunday. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we are going to talk about more into detail, of course, the Chiefs and the Ravens, more specifically Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, part 5, and what to expect going in. We're going to talk about the past matchups between these quarterbacks because, again, it's been a little bit since we last saw these two guys go at it. And, we're going to see them on Sunday. Really looking forward to it. So, yeah, that is what we will do when we get back from our second break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk a little bit about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, Mahomes-Jackson Part 5. So it's been a little bit since these two quarterbacks went at it. The last time they played against each other, and I did bring this up, was back in Week 2 of 2021. So it's been a while. And since then, we've had Mahomes Allen, we've had Mahomes Burrow. It's been a while. And because before that, you go back to 2018 when these two teams met. This was an overtime game. The Chiefs won that game 27-24. That was Lamar Jackson's rookie season. The Ravens had the lead in this game. That was when Mahomes converted that. I think it was a 4th and 9 to Tyreek Hill that tied the game. It didn't tie the game, but that set up the Chiefs on that drive to tie the game, and that sent them to overtime. And the Chiefs won 27-24, and the Chiefs ended up improving to 11-2 on the season at that point. The Ravens were 7-6, and that was, because Joe Flacco got hurt that year. I don't think he got benched, but he got hurt. Lamar Jackson took over, and we never looked back. Lamar's been the starting quarterback since then. Jackson in that game, he had 67 yards rushing. 13-24 for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then for Mahomes, he went 35-53, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. That was the first meeting between them. So then we go to the 2019 matchup, and that was, again, another high-scoring matchup there. I can pull it up. And I think it was week 3. Yeah, it was week 3. The Chiefs won that game 33-28. The Chiefs actually were winning by a lot in this game. Wow, I didn't realize they outscored the Ravens 23-0 in the second quarter. So yeah, it was 23-6 at the half. But then the Ravens made things interesting. Again, it only ended up being a 5-point game. Lamar Jackson went 22 of 43, 267 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Mark Ingram actually had 3 rushing touchdowns in this game. This was actually the year I won in one of my fantasy leagues, and Mark Ingram was my running back too, and he was great that year. Lamar had a rushing touchdown. He had 46 yards rushing. And then for Mahomes, again, another great performance by him, 27-37, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And then they met the following year in the COVID season, and that game was in Baltimore. And the Chiefs won that game 34-20. And listen, that was a big game for the Ravens. And they, both teams started off the season 2-0, but then the Ravens, came up short. They actually made this game interesting at one point, but it just was never really. The Chiefs were never really in jeopardy of losing this game. Lamar Jackson actually he only went 15-28 for 97 yards and a touchdown. He had 9 carries for 83 yards. And then for Patrick Mahomes, 31-42, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then in the 2021 matchup, which I have talked about because that was, the most recent matchup between the two, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson finally defeats the Chiefs. They win 36-35. And for both quarterbacks, we'll look at their stats. So Mahomes went 24 of 31, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then for Lamar Jackson, he went 18 of 26, 239 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and he had 107 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. The Ravens actually got the ball to start the game. I did watch the highlights of that game last night. And, literally, like, the first drive, I think it was it the first play? But it was on the first drive. Lamar Jackson threw a pick 6 to Tyrann Mathieu. Also, Mahomes had a bad pick in the game. His pick was bad because he was he tries to do too much and we know this, where like he's about to get sacked and he'll throw it to a receiver and then it got picked off. It was bad. And in 2021 he had a couple of those. There was another one against the Commanders too, because they played the NFC East that year, and he had a bad interception similar to that. But yeah, that was also so the Chiefs. I don't know how the Chiefs blew that game. Like they were up by 11, and the Ravens came back. Credit to them. And then the Chiefs were driving, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled. The Ravens get the ball, and it's 3rd and 7. Jackson completes a pass. It's 4th and 1. They're in their own territory, and John Harbaugh's like, Lamar, you want to go for this? And he's like, yeah. And they went for it on 4th and 1. They had an extra offensive lineman in, and Lamar Jackson picked up the first down, and the Ravens got the win, 36-35, and that was the first time that Lamar Jackson beat Patrick Mahomes. And that was something that, I criticized Lamar about is, you play against the Chiefs and you can't beat them. And they were down double digits in the game. That was another thing too, is Lamar's ability to come back from big deficits or multi-score deficits. And he did that. He did it. So you got to give him credit there. And going for it on 4th down in your own territory, that was huge. And they were able to beat the Chiefs by 1 point. But again, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble, I think the Chiefs probably win that game. But you look at the stats of both quarterbacks. I mean, every time Mahomes has played against the Ravens, he's done very well. Now, it's different this year. And I talked about it's like when I talked about the past playoff matchups between the Packers and the 49ers. I got a comment that said, why are we talking about this? Because there's, they're two different teams. For me, I was just doing that because, they were two teams that met a lot in the playoffs. Now, this is the first time that Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson have met in the playoffs. They've had a lot of meetings in the regular season. So, I just thought, talk about the history between these two guys. Because before all of this Mahomes-Josh Allen and Mahomes-Burrow, it was Mahomes-Jackson. That's what it was. It was like, this is going to be the next rivalry right here, is these two quarterbacks, because they played each other every year. But they didn't play each other. They didn't play each other last year. And again, like 2021, they met in week 2. And then, Lamar Jackson eventually, got hurt during that season. So it's been a long time, and they didn't play at all this year, up until now. So it has been a long time since they faced each other. Because Lamar Jackson gets hurt, the Ravens, they don't finish in first place. It's been a while, So, and I'm looking forward to it. The Ravens defense is healthy for the most part going into this game. We'll see how it goes. But this is a bigger game for Lamar Jackson. I mean, the level of importance, this is a bigger game for Lamar Jackson because, you got the defending champs coming in. This is a team that the Chiefs now have made it to 6 straight AFC Championship games. Listen, Lamar's got his playoff victories under his belt now. You got a home playoff victory last week. Now you got to slay the dragon here. But they got to come to you. You're not going to Arrowhead. They're coming to you. So you got the crowd behind you. And listen, not only do you have the crowd behind you, you got large parts of America behind you too, because nobody, there's a lot of people that just do not want to see the Chiefs make it back to the Super Bowl. For many different reasons. And, for me, listen, I don't care as much as a lot of people. I know Mahomes was complaining about flags this year, and, we're tired of just seeing the Chiefs. I get it. But, are you going to say no to a Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl? Are you really going to say no to another Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl and watch this guy play? He's been unbelievable. What he's been able to do since he, became the starting quarterback of the Chiefs. But I get it. You want to see something new. And you know what? Lamar Jackson, this has been his year. The Chiefs, listen, struggled on offense. They haven't been the same team, of course. So, listen, now it's like, okay, this has to be Lamar Jackson's year, right? Or are the Chiefs going to ruin it? But again, like I said, you got to slay the dragon. I mean, look at the Patriots. How many times do we see Tom Brady in an AFC Championship game and you just want to, like, pull every hair out of your head because you're just like, why again? That's what this is becoming with Mahomes, But again, like, you also got to sit back and just appreciate, what you're seeing. Like, who knows if we're going to see this again? We might be seeing it again with the Chiefs right now, with what they've been doing. But the Ravens, again, have been the better team all year. They're at home. Everything is aligning for them to, get over the hump and get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since they won it back in the 2012-2013 season. That miracle playoff run Joe Flacco had, beating Tom Brady and Peyton Manning on the road. I mean, that was unbelievable. So, you know what? And listen, you could throw all the past matchups out the window. I get it, but between these two guys. But, again, it's just important to think about. And again, this is a more important game for Lamar Jackson than it is for Patrick Mahomes. Because, listen, Patrick Mahomes, he's got his 2 Super Bowls. He's got his MVPs. If he retired now, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, he could continue to build up his legacy and, get into that conversation of being, the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, he's kind of already in that discussion, with what he's been able to do. This is a big game for Lamar Jackson, and will he rise to the occasion and, beat the Chiefs? And again, they've done it. He was able to do that. But now it's a bigger stage. This is a ticket to the Super Bowl on the line. Is he going to be able to do it? I don't know. We'll just have to find out on Sunday. But for me, I'm really excited for this game. Again, it's been a while since they last played each other. But when they have played against each other, it has been entertaining. So I expect that, with this game on Sunday. And you know what? Listen, the Ravens defense, again, has been good all year. Now, against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, the defending champs, it's going to be different. I mean, listen, you had a rookie quarterback you went up against last week. Now you got, this team coming in. And we'll see, this is a true test now. So, we'll see what happens. Again, looking forward to the game. I hope it's a great game. I expect it to be a great game. But, like I said, this is a bigger game for Lamar Jackson. And you win this game, that goes a long way. Because, again, only 2 guys have been able to do it, to knock off Mahomes in the playoffs. If you join that, you're joining an elite class. With Brady and Burrow. The 2 Bs. So, we'll see what happens. But that's basically it when talking about this. Let me know what you guys think about this game. What was your favorite moment from the one of the past Mahomes Jackson matchups? Because again, they had some good games. I mean, the middle games, like the first matchup and the most recent matchup, those I think were the better. They were the top 2. The other 2, I mean, the Chiefs kind of dominated, those 2 games, and then the Ravens made it a little bit interesting, but it wasn't enough to come back. So yeah, the first matchup and the most recent matchup, those are the top 2. But we'll see what Part 5 brings us on Sunday. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we're going to talk about now the other game, of course, between the NFC Championship matchup, between the Lions and the 49ers. And what chance do the Lions have versus the 49ers? So I'll give you my thoughts on that when we come back from our final break of the show. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to talk about the NFC Championship game and what are the chances the Lions can upset the 49ers. So like the Chiefs and the Ravens, the 49ers and the Lions have not met since week one of the 2021 season. And that was Jared Goff's first game as the Lions quarterback, Dan Campbell's first game as the Lions head coach. And the 49ers actually, were winning by a lot in that game. And the Lions actually almost came back. I think the final score ended up being 38-31. We'll talk about it later in the week. They made it close, and they actually had an opportunity to tie the game and, go to overtime, I believe. Because I think the 49ers fumbled and the Lions got the ball back. I'll have to go back and look. But, yeah, so it's been a long time. And obviously, Garoppolo was the quarterback, back then. So it's, things are different now. The Lions are a much better team. The 49ers have a different quarterback. They're a better team, since then. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. And, I think earlier in the season, you'd probably say, yeah, the 49ers are going to wipe the floor with the Lions. But I don't know. For me, I think the Lions have a good shot of upsetting the Niners. And one of the things is, what we talked about before, is the status of Deebo Samuel. Because if Deebo Samuel doesn't play in this game, that's a huge blow for the 49ers offense going into the championship game. And again, we saw how Brock Purdy played without him. And even before Deebo got hurt, this past game against the Packers, that really I was a little bit surprised with how Brock Purdy played. He was missing throws. He should have threw a couple of picks in the game. Darnell Savage almost had another pick six. There's definitely some vulnerability there. And we'll see what happens this week. The Lions, they don't have a good pass defense, and the 49ers with all of their weapons, they could definitely pick that apart. I expect this game to be very high scoring. But you know what? I think the Lions, they could keep up with the 49ers. I think they can. Jared Goff has played against the 49ers plenty of times. I know there have been games where he has not played well against the 49ers, but he knows this team very well. The other thing, too, is I was surprised at how well the Packers were able to run the football against the 49ers, which is I thought was something they weren't going to be able to do. Aaron Jones had over 100 yards rushing. I know a big chunk of that came from that 53-yard run, but still, he ran for over 100 yards in this game. And now you got the Lions coming in, and they love to run the football. Jahmyr Gibbs, the second half of the season has really played well. He's really become a weapon for them. You also got David Montgomery as well. If the Packers can run the football against the Niners, maybe, the Lions could find the same success there with the 1-2 punch that they have. So I think that's one thing that could play into the Lions' favor is their ability to run the football. Because also, that opens up play action, and Jared Goff is very good off of play action. The Lions have a lot of weapons. And listen, I'd probably put you'd put the 49ers supporting cast over the Lions, but I would say it's not by that much. Because, again, the 1-2 punch with Gibbs and Montgomery, and of course you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's had a great season, Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end. It's a pretty good supporting cast. And then, of course, Jared Goff and Josh Reynolds have a nice connection, of course, because they played with each other, over, with the Rams. Jameson Williams has made plays this year. Again, you put the 49ers weapons over them, but, don't sleep on these Lions weapons. They got some good weapons there. And they really have surrounded Jared Goff with good young talent. And he's done well because of that. And of course, having an offensive line That's good as well, giving him protection. That's the other thing too. I mean, the Niners didn't get any sacks off of Jordan Love. I feel like they will against Jared Goff here. Jared Goff can move around, but I think Jordan Love, he's a little bit more. He's got a little more mobility to him as opposed to Goff. Goff is still kind of like one of those pocket passers, but he can move around. But Jared Goff can move around a little bit. So I do expect the 49ers to get a sack and to at least get a sack in this game. But really the biggest thing for me is the Lions defense, because they got to get stops in this game. Now, I feel a little bit more confident in them because of how the Niners offense played against Green Bay, because it was ugly. It was ugly. I mean, they won ugly. They won that game. It wasn't pretty with how they won, but they were able to do it. So you give them credit for that, of course. But if they can get pressure on Brock Purdy, you got Aiden Hutchinson rushing him. I mean, get him off his spot, and force him to make a mistake. Because again, he almost made a mistake on Saturday. He almost made a couple of mistakes against the Packers. He should have at least had one interception. Yeah, I listen. I give the Lions a puncher's chance. I really think that they have a chance to upset the 49ers because they have a good offense. The defense is my concern. But again, how the 49ers and Brock Purdy played, I mean, maybe they can get a turnover, maybe that, and they could cash in off of that. And again, you could also point to the Niners, the bye week and not playing since week 17, all their starters. Maybe they were rusty. Maybe they're going to come out and, just dominate from start to finish. I mean, that could happen. But I don't think that's going to happen here. I really don't think so. And with the Lions, they're the underdog in this game. I mean, that they took a break from that these past 2 weeks, being favored against the Rams and the Buccaneers, but now they're an underdog again. And I give them a shot. I don't know. I haven't really seen what everybody else, in the media is, what kind of chance they're giving them, but I give them a shot. I really do. And again, the other thing too is, I mean, I talk about the Lions pass defense, but you look at the Niners too. I mean, during their losing streak against Joe Burrow, against Kirk Cousins, I brought this up. I mean, their secondary got picked apart. And if you give Jared Goff time to throw, I mean, I think he could do the same thing because the Lions have good weapons as well. Also, another thing, actually, I should mention. So Brock Wright, their backup tight end, got hurt. So they actually signed Zach Ertz. So he'll probably see him maybe make a play, possibly on Sunday against the 49ers. Zach Ertz, obviously long-time tight end with the Eagles, played with the Cardinals for a few seasons. Obviously, they released him earlier so he can go to a contender, and he finally gets picked up here in the NFC Championship game. He'll be playing for the Lions. But that's just another thing. That's just a small thing to just talk about. But, I mean, listen, the Lions have good weapons, and, you give Jared Goff time to throw. I mean, I think the Lions can move the ball against this Niners defense. If the Niners aren't able to get home and get that pressure on Goff, because if you could get pressure on Goff, I mean, you get him off of his spot, you could force some turnovers as well. So, we'll have to see how it goes. But I expect this to be a very competitive game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Lions will definitely win, but I think they have a good chance. I really do. Based off of what I saw from the 49ers on Saturday, and some of the things that, I've seen throughout the year. And, and I just think that, the Lions and their offense, I mean, that's a high-powered offense. I think they could go in there and they could put up points. If they can run the football well, like the Packers did, it's going to be a really competitive game. But we'll see. We'll see. But let me know what you guys think about this. What chance do you guys give the Lions against the 49ers? Do you think that they will upset the Niners, or do you think the Niners will, win this game, or win this game by a lot? I mean, who knows? Listen, I mean, this is what I think, and I've talked about my I've done predictions, picks all year, and I've been pretty mediocre for the most part. I will say though, the AFC side of the bracket, other than the Browns, because I mentioned this, other than the Browns-Texans game, because I picked the Browns, I got everything else right. NFC has been a problem because I had the Cowboys going to the NFC Championship game, I had the Eagles winning, I had the Rams winning. But I had the 49ers getting here, so at least I got that right, and I have them going to the Super Bowl. It's been two different. You look at the AFC and NFC side of my bracket. It's one I got pretty much right, the other not so much. I mean, based off of what my bracket is, I mean, you guys kind of know where I'm leaning. But listen, I mean, if the Lions somehow pull this off, I would be very happy about that. I would not have a problem with it. Because like I said, I'm a fan of Dan Campbell. I call him kneecaps because of, again, what he said in his press conference with, biting off of people's kneecaps. I thought that was great. I've just been calling him kneecaps ever since then. We'll see. Again, it's been a while since these two teams last met. It's going to be very different this time around because the Lions are a much better team than that 2021 team. Again, and I always say this, I'm just hoping for good games at the end of the day. That's just what I'm hoping for. I'll be fine with whatever Super Bowl matchup we end up with. I know everybody's got their theories, and there's also, hey, maybe the first game of the regular season is going to be the matchup that we end with in the Super Bowl because we got the Lions and the Chiefs. Maybe that's what we're going to end with in the Super Bowl. So, because then you also got the Super Bowl logo, which is the 49ers and the Ravens colors. It's you got that going on. So, like I said, for me, I don't care what matchup we get. At the end of the day, like I always say, I just hope for good games. So, that's pretty much it with the show for today. I thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Don't have anything right now planned for what I'm going to talk about, but obviously we're going to continue to talk about these games as we get closer and closer to that. Friday obviously will be like the full on like preview of the games and who obviously who I'm picking, but still we'll get into that on Friday, and then of course the baseball show will be on Friday as well. Got some things to talk about, Hall of Fame stuff. The Astros signing Josh Hader, so I'll get into that on Friday. So make sure to tune in for that. That'll be before this show, of course. So that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'll be back 10:30 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So until then, I am Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.